Silver Wolf quite literally has made a huge impact on the meta, and in this video, I am going to talk about her place in the meta, things that you need to know about her, whether you already have her or not, as well as cover some important questions like how game-changing her first eidolons are. And most importantly, I will showcase the most insane teams you can build with her. And let me tell you, these teams are busted, and it's not something you want to miss out on. So let's first talk about the new amazing teams you can build with Silver Wolf and how different they are from what we're used to. Now, I won't be delving too deep into Silver Wolf's kit, there's already a lot of videos about that, some of which I will leave for you to check out in the description, and instead, I want to show you things that I believe a lot of content creators haven't talked about it yet. Now, the biggest thing about Silver Wolf is her ability to implant a weakness type to an enemy that doesn't have it. This one mechanic alone allows you to build more than 5 new teams, and all of them are interesting in their own way. So, the first team is Mono Fire, made up of Asta, Himiko, and Fire Trailblazer. Yes, the survivability here goes out the window without the healer, but because of the upcoming changes to Memory of Chaos, which I'll talk about later in the video, this team is going places already. So what's so great about it? Well, first of all, Silver Wolf can easily implant fire weakness on enemies who don't have it, even though there is a 50-50 chance it could also be Quantum if the enemy doesn't have it. It is a bit of a bummer, you have to flip a coin and hope this works out, since it doesn't matter how many teammates you have from the same element in the team. The game's programming basically just weighs the two elements and considers one of the two before implanting the enemy. And of course, if the enemy has quantum weakness but doesn't have fire, then it's a 100% guarantee Silver Wolf will be able to just keep applying this weakness, which is something you'll need to keep in mind when I talk about all the teams. Now, fire weakness matters a lot to Asta. Her whole shtick is to boost the team's attack when she damages an enemy, but if the enemy has fire weakness, she gains an additional stack. This allows you to rapidly build those stacks, boost everyone's attack, and in addition, she also provides 18% fire damage increase for the whole team from one of her major traces. I cannot tell you how good this is when Silver Wolf can literally implant fire weakness on any boss who doesn't have it, and this makes the team super consistent with Asta's buffing. Also, breaking enemies' weakness is Himiko's bread and butter. The more you break, the more she unleashes her strong follow-up attacks. And you will have an easy time doing this, yet again thanks to Silver Wolf's fire weakness implant. But with that being said, I would say this is the weakest team out of the all I'm going to show you, but nevertheless, it couldn't exist right now without the wolf. Okay, so the next team I'm really excited to talk about is Mono Ice, made up of Japard, Pela, and Yanqing. Probably the most amazing thing here is the absolutely disgusting amount of defense shred you can achieve with both Pela and Silver Wolf. Yes, all of their defense shredding stacks together. For example, you can see here Pela's ultimate's defense reduction is here. She is also equipped with the Pearls of Sweat Light Cone, which shreds defense, and then we have Silver Wolf's ultimate and Bug Implant, both reducing defense. All of this totaling up to 96% of reduced defense. That's almost attacking an enemy without any defense at all. And my Pela's traces aren't even leveled, so you can imagine what a field day Yanqing gets to have when he delivers insane single target damage. And what's also great is that Japard can actually keep the team alive pretty well. So this is legit an amazing team you can go for if you want to build a Mono Ice team comp. Moving over, there's also the Mono Lightning with Jingyuan, Tingyun, and Bailu. I'm sure you saw this team already, so not much needs to be said here. Although thanks to Silver Wolf's Bug Implant and the ability to reduce the enemy's elemental resistance, Jingyuan's damage actually gets boosted by quite a lot. And I don't even have to tell you how much stronger Lightning Lord strikes become, as you can see here for yourself. Now, one other great team is Mono Physical with Clara, Natasha, and Sushang. Thanks to Clara's pseudo-tanking and Natasha's healing, I can actually use this team really well in Memory of Chaos, and Sushang actually shreds the weakness bar by a lot, so once the enemy gets physical weakness implant, the team's performance skyrockets. And then of course, we have Quantum. Currently, I see a lot of people running double Lightning Quantum with Tingyun, Bailu, and Zila or QQ. Honestly, this is my new team for farming Simulated Universe, and thanks to Silver Wolf's debuffing, I almost doubled Zila's damage output, going from 90k to 170k with her ultimate. Finally, one last bonus team to showcase. You could also go for Zila, Silver Wolf, and QQ together with either Natasha or Bailu, just so you can keep those quantum maniacs alive while they're busy decimating the bosses. But yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what potential teams you can build with Silver Wolf, and her ability to enable so many different mono teams is actually quite staggering. It's not something we're used to, and even though you do have to play the coin flip game if the enemy is missing both of the weaknesses, it's a gamble that you can live with, especially if you strategically build teams against the enemies who have quantum weakness if it's not a mono quantum team, so that then Silver Wolf will never implant her own weakness. Okay, so the hacker girl opens up an avenue to many new teams. What about her place in the meta? Well, first of all, we have to look at the upcoming memory turbulence changes, since they warp the team building in a significant way. The first one that's coming in June 12th will reduce enemies' damage by 4% up to 5 times when they get debuffed. Basically, with Silver Wolf, you will be able to maintain at least on one target all 5 stacks, which is 20% reduced damage, and if it's 2 bosses or elite enemies, the other one will probably have around 3 to 5 stacks as well. This is a huge change for teams like Mono Fire or Mono Ice, where you don't have a healer and want to sustain the damage with shielding. Now, the next turbulence after this will shred the enemy's defense by 6% for each debuff up to 5 times for a total of 30% reduction. For teams without Pela, this is straight up an amazing damage boost for damage dealers when you combine this with Silver Wolf's defense shred from her bug and ultimate. And finally, the last turbulence is not really important because it mostly has to do with Lao Cha, but from June 12th to July 10th, Nihility, but mainly Silver Wolf, is going to be dominating the memory of chaos in an almost unfair way. Now, even if we take out these memory turbulence changes out of the equation, the other major buff Nihility, or for the most part any debuffer, has received is that every enemy's resistance to effects have been nerfed. This change alone has easily made it possible to build Silver Wolf as a sub DPS instead of just pure support, which I'll talk about in the next segment, but the most important thing here to understand is that you no longer need to aim for 120% effect hit resistance with her, and instead, roughly 96% is enough to achieve a guarantee you will land her skill debuff, while the talent which allows her to implant bugs will have around 85 to 99% success rate, depending if the enemy has 40 or 30% effect resistance. And not many have 40% thanks to these changes, like Kokolia or Svarog. Honestly, to me, this last minute change Hoyoverse did to enemies feels eerily similar back when Kazuha first got released. Back in 1.6, transformative reactions received a massive damage boost right when Kazuha's banner became available, so I guess it's pretty clear Hoyo saw that Silver Wolf needed this in order to allow players to have more freedom with her builds. All in all, with these additions in mind, Silver Wolf easily lands herself in the top tier spot in tier lists, because she simply brings so much value. From enabling new meta teams or remixing older ones, to providing insane amount of debuffs her team can work with and utilize. Right now, if you care about her pull value and memory of chaos, she is absolutely worth getting for the simple fact alone she can manipulate the weakness type, even if it can be random at times, which I'll admit, this can feel punishing if you put her into the second side of Memory of Chaos, since you might have to waste time and restart the run if she doesn't apply the weakness you need, especially since finishing in limited amount of cycles is really crucial right now to get all 3 stars. Now, one more thing I want to talk about are her build considerations. I won't delve deep here, and instead, maybe you saw how much effect hit rate she needs and became discouraged for pulling for her, or you're in the process of gearing her up. Either way, here's what you need to think about. So, because of the effect resistance nerf that was made to enemies, the golden sweet spot for Silver Wolf, assuming her traces are maxed out, is 96%, or about 105% if you have level 7 skill. For ultimate and talent, the numbers will differ. You will need a lot less for the ultimate and a lot more for the talent because of its low base chance. However, what matters the most is the skill. Now, getting 96% can basically be achieved with effect hit rate body, the new free-to-play event Light Cone, and then 18% you get from her traces. But here's the thing, that effect hit rate body massively reduces Silver Wolf's potential as a sub damage dealer, and instead she kind of acts like a support with some damage. So what's really going to happen with her, and what I'm also working towards right now, is to actually use critical rate body, and to obtain the remainder of 38% effect hit rate from the substats, and if needed, the Pan-Galactic Planner Ornament set. With the Planner set, you only need 28% effect hit rate, or if you just go with the substats, you will need to roll on average 9 times on effect hit rate substat to achieve this 96% threshold. This might sound like a lot, but think of it like you would normally chase critical rate or critical damage substats. It's definitely achievable in the long run, and it is something I highly recommend working towards, instead of just relying on the effect hit rate body, which is a massive DPS loss for Silver Wolf that can otherwise be achievable with critical rate body instead. And of course, I understand you could be using a light cone that's not from the current event, which means you'll need more of effect hit rate, unless you max out the 5-star options shown here, but for the most part, building her as a hybrid sub damage dealer and debuffer is going to be your long-term goal. And speaking of which, let's just talk about how unfair her eidolons are. The first one allows her to essentially regain 35 energy after using her ultimate, which is fine and dandy, because now you can get rid of the energy regeneration rope, and this allows you to increase her damage by even more with attack or break effect rope instead. However, where things get absolutely bonkers is her second Eidolon. You might look at this and think, wow, that's such a boring upgrade. All enemies have their effect resistance reduced by 20%? Big deal. Yes, it is actually a big deal, to the point that I think this Eidolon even surpasses Raiden's second constellation, which is well known in Genshin community as the most powerful upgrade in the game you can get for a character. And here's the thing, with this upgrade, you now only need 47% effect hit rate for Silver Wolf to have a guarantee she can apply her skill debuff on all enemies in the game. And it's going to be 85% chance to apply her bugs. Not only that, all enemies have their effect resistance reduced. That means anyone who can apply in the team with Silver Wolf debuffs benefits from this. For example, Japard's skill to freeze enemies becomes easily guaranteed with some effect hit rate built up, and so our others will massively benefit from this. I'm honestly shocked how good this Eidolon is, and compared to her signature light cone, I would basically just save up my warps until her rerun if you want to have her absolutely cracked, because this second Eidolon is just a game changer overall. And what's even crazier, her E4, and more importantly her E6, basically turns her into a mini Zila. There's already footage showing her E6 potential, and it's crazy how strong she becomes of a damage dealer. All in all, it's pretty clear Silver Wolf absolutely changes the meta, and she's easily one of the strongest characters in the game right now, from manipulating the elemental weaknesses to unleashing tons of debuffs, including a massive defense shred she can apply. She's just too good right now, but obviously, this only applies if you care about the meta. Otherwise, she's a strong and fun character to use in Simulated Universe. I know I've had my own fair share of fun by using her in few of the runs already, and I can only imagine she's going to be even deadlier and versatile once those turbulence buffs arrive. Still, it is a bit of a greedy move by Hoyoverse with the way they tempt you with that 60-second Eidolon, but I can assure you, she's busted even at E0, so don't go spending your money unless you're financially secure. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful, and I would appreciate if you could press the like button and subscribe to my channel. Sadly, I wasn't invited to an early access to Silver Wolf by Hoyoverse, as you probably saw other creators releasing their guides the moment the update was live, which I'll admit, it feels a bit of a letdown for me, but I'm still here for you guys, and I promise to deliver the best content I can. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.